Let's look a little bit about how we would write the piecewise function if we're looking at the graph. Remember that each of these graphs has a y-intercept, the equation does, even though it doesn't extend necessarily to the y-axis. So let's review a little bit. The equation of a line is y equals mx plus b. M is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So if I take each equation, I can find the y-intercept by extending the graph, and then I can write the equation, and I can then identify the domain for each of the functions. So let's first look at the domain. The first branch here starts at -2, and it's all the numbers less than that. So we're going to highlight that in yellow. That's our first domain. For this equation, I'm going to write above it that x is less than or equal to, it's equal to because it's a solid circle, -2. My second part of the graph goes from the -2 to a +1. How do I write that? That is all numbers. -2 is less than x, and it's less than 1. It's not equal to because these are open circles. And the last part of my domain starts at the +1 and is all the numbers larger than that. I write that inequality, x is greater than or equal to, because it's a solid circle, 1. Now all I have to do is find each equation. So if I take my first equation and extend it, the slope looks like it's up 1 over 1. And I go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. I think it's pretty safe to say that this graph crosses at -2. So if I said my slope is 1 and my y-intercept is -2, my first equation in my curly brace is 1x, and most of the time we don't write the 1, -2, and the domain is all x values less than or equal to -2. We'll call this f of x. Our middle one doesn't have a slope. It's a horizontal line, and it crosses the y-axis at 2. So my equation is just f of x equals 2. And that is if it's between -2 and 1. And the last part of my graph looks like it has a slope of up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So I'm going to go down 2 and over 1, and it looks like my y-intercept here, b is -3, and my m is 2. So to write that equation, we have 2x minus 3 if the x values are greater than or equal to 1. And that's how we write piecewise functions.